Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the major updates with immigration, as well as everything you need to know for the policies and procedures with respect to the USCIS offices reopening. Make sure you stick around because we have a lot to cover. Before we get started, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, hello, my name is Stephanie D'Angelo. I'm the founder of D'Angelo Law PLC. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button so you can join the D'Angelo Law family as well. Also, make sure you turn on your post notifications so you can be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Let's talk about premium processing finally coming back. USCIS did announce that the suspension for premium processing has been lifted. However, there are certain dates that you have to keep in mind. As of June 1st, USCIS began accepting premium processing requests for all eligible I-140 immigrant petitions. So if you had an I-140 pending and it was eligible to receive premium processing, you can now go ahead and submit that request. If you have yet to file the I-140, you can now file it concurrently with the premium processing request, so that's good news there. So effective June 1st, premium processing is open and available for those eligible I-140 petitions. Coming up on June 8th, USCIS will begin accepting premium processing requests for those H-1B petitions that were CAP exempt, that were pending before June 8th. So the June 8th date is for those pending H-1B petitions that were CAP exempt. Also on June 8th, USCIS will begin accepting premium processing requests for all other I-129 petitions that were pending prior to June 8th, but that are not asking for H-1B classification. So those I-129 petitions that were asking for L1 classification or O1 classification, you can submit the premium processing request for those pending applications. Beginning on June 15th, USCIS will resume premium processing for those H-1B petitions being filed concurrently with the I-907 applications for those that are CAP exempt. And effective June 22nd, USCIS will resume premium processing for all other I-129 petitions, including those H-1B CAP subject petitions. Everything will go back to normal on June 22nd. I know this is a little bit confusing, but it's really important for you to pay attention to the distinctions between which petitions are eligible for premium processing and on which date. So if something's not clear, definitely go ahead and leave a comment. USCIS does mention that these dates could change at any time. However, I do believe that these specific dates will remain in place. USCIS also announced that if you filed your request for premium processing before the temporary suspension on March 20th and you didn't receive an action on your case and you received a refund for that premium processing request you submitted previously, USCIS has announced that you may now refile your request for premium processing with the refunded filing fee that you did receive. So you can refile in accordance with the timeline I just discussed. Let's talk about the reopening of USCIS local field offices that took place. USCIS has reduced the number of appointments and interviews to ensure social distancing, as well as implementing certain policies and procedures with respect to receiving visitors at these USCIS local field offices. Now, there is something that I do want to clarify that may not be very clear. Not all USCIS local field offices were reopened on June 4th. I will put below the local field offices that remain closed due to the specific circumstances within that state. So you can go ahead and read below which offices are actually still closed. But I want to explain the difference between local field offices and application support centers. Now, at all times during COVID-19, the service centers have remained open, and these service centers are who receive your applications and process them and adjudicate them. So at all times, those remained open. The local field offices were closed because the local field offices are the ones that engage in in-person interactions with applicants, whether it's for naturalization ceremonies, interviews, InfoPass appointments. Those local field offices were temporarily closed until June 4th. Application support centers are not the same thing as local USCIS field offices. If you look at your biometrics appointment notice, it will say the address where you must go to provide your fingerprints, to provide your biometrics, and it will say at the top whether it's an application support center or a local field office. Application support centers remain closed, all of them. The only offices that are opening on June 4th are most of the local field offices. So if your biometrics was scheduled at an application support center and not at a local field office, then you are still unable to provide your biometrics. You cannot just show up at a local field office that is open and provide your biometrics when your appointment was scheduled at an application support center. They will not accept you. You must wait for the application support centers to reopen. Those of you that are lucky enough to have had it scheduled at a local field office, then you would have received a rescheduling of your biometrics appointment by now, but majority is for the interviews for the naturalization ceremonies. So I do want to clarify that distinction. It's not everything is wide open, just the majority of local field offices are open, but the application support centers do remain closed, which means you're still unable to provide your biometrics in order to get your employment authorization documents, your travel authorization documents at this time. With respect to the naturalization ceremonies, USCIS has already begun issuing the rescheduled naturalization ceremonies appointment notices. You do have those coming up. With respect to the naturalization ceremonies, they are going to be shorter than they used to be, and the number of attendees will also be restricted. So instead of playing videos during your naturalization ceremony, attendees will receive a flyer with information and links directing them to USCIS's website to watch the videos there. But the legally required portions of the naturalization ceremonies will continue to take place, but it will be a shorter ceremony altogether. Also, you cannot have your friends and family come with you and attend your ceremony. Unfortunately, USCIS is limiting the attendance to only those naturalization candidates, as well as to any individuals that are providing any assistance to disabled persons. With respect to other interviews and appointments, in attempt to limit the number of people in the waiting room, applicants with scheduled appointments may only be accompanied by their attorney. Interpreters are allowed. Also, interpreters must be available telephonically as well. If the applicant is a minor, they may be accompanied by their parent or legal guardian. If the application has immediate family members that are listed as dependents on the application can attend, and anybody assisting a disabled person. So those are the restrictions of who will be allowed to accompany you to your interview or appointment. USCIS has also announced that even if you have a scheduled appointment or a naturalization ceremony scheduled, you are not allowed to enter the building if you have any symptoms of COVID-19, such as cough, fever, or difficulty breathing. You're not allowed to enter the facility. Also, if you have been in close contact with anyone suspected to have COVID-19 within the last 14 days, or if you have been directed to self-quarantine or self-isolate by a healthcare provider or public health official within the last 14 days. So even if you have an appointment scheduled, you are not allowed to enter the building, and you will be required to reschedule your appointment. Also, you cannot enter the building unless you have a face mask or a face covering that covers the nose and the mouth completely. They may ask you to remove your face covering for identity purposes, to identify you, but you will be required to wear it at all times, and you won't be allowed to enter the building unless you do have that face covering. Finally, individuals are encouraged to bring their own black and blue pens. That way you don't have to share pens with other applicants, with the USCIS officers. So when you're going to your appointment, definitely bring your own pens. Be aware that you may be asked to answer any health screening questions before you enter the building. There will be markings and physical barriers in the facility, so make sure you pay attention to signs to ensure that you're following these social distancing guidelines. Hand sanitizer will be available at all entry points. In a previous video, I did discuss the flexibility with respect to responding to requests for evidence, notices of intent to deny, notices of intent to revoke, etc. So any petitions that received any agency requests between March 1st and May 1st, those petitioners and applicants would receive flexibility in responding to those agency requests, and it was an additional 60 days. USCIS did announce that they extended the flexibility to those that received agency requests that were issued between March 1st, and now they're including it all the way up to July 1st. So if at any point between March 1st and July 1st you receive a agency request on your case, then you are receiving the benefit of that flexibility. Let's talk about combo card renewals. So for those adjustment of status applicants that have pending I-45s and you were issued an EAD, you were issued an advanced parole, don't wait till the last minute to renew those documents. You should actually file to renew those documents as soon as possible. Right now, USCIS has a policy in place that they will reuse previously used biometrics with respect to EAD renewals until application support centers are open. So initial applicants must provide their biometrics before their EADs can be issued, but those that are filing for renewals, USCIS will reuse their previously submitted biometrics up until application support centers reopen. So they still remain closed. They did not reopen on June 4th, as I mentioned previously. So now's the time to file to extend and renew those documents, because you will get it quickly. They will approve it quickly because the policy is in place that they will reuse your old biometrics. So don't be afraid to file those renewals and get them immediately, because once the application support centers reopen, then they will no longer use previously submitted biometrics. I also do want to talk about green card interview waivers. Once again, there isn't a formal policy in place in which USCIS is announcing that they waive green card interviews. However, that is what we have been seeing. If you have a pending I-485 in place and you receive the request for evidence for your medicals, go ahead and submit that as quickly as possible, because once they receive that, they should be approving your green card and producing it shortly thereafter, which is good news. You won't be subject to an interview. We have seen this happen a lot recently. The majority of these cases will be employment-based applicants that are filing for a green card based on their EB1 or EB2, but we have heard and seen some family-based cases that have waived interviews. Typically, it'll be for the I-751 petition to remove conditions for those that are still married to their spouse. I have received a lot of questions with respect to U.S. embassies opening in certain countries, and as I mentioned previously, it all depends. Each country has their own situation, so each country will open the U.S. embassies on their own time. You have to check the website for U.S. embassy in your respective country. So that's all for today's video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up so this news can be shared across the platform. If you have any other questions, go ahead and leave a comment below. I will definitely try to get around and answer everyone's questions. Also, make sure you are subscribed. Join the D'Angelo Law family. We are growing pretty rapidly, which is very, very exciting. Turn on your post notifications so you can be notified the next time I have an update for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.